The rain fell hard that night, washing the narrow street in silver and shadow. Inside a small, dimly lit apartment, a frail man sat by the window, staring at the raindrops tracing paths down the glass. His hands trembled slightly as he held a worn photograph, a picture of a woman smiling under the sun, holding a baby in her arms. He whispered softly, "I did my best, Maria. I did my best." His voice cracked, and a cough racked through his thin chest. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that in this quiet corner of the world, a father's love had carried him through years of loneliness, sickness, and silence. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love that never gives up, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Your support helps more people discover stories that touch the heart and remind us what truly matters. His name was Farid, a man in his late 50s, once a factory worker, now a broken soul battling both poverty and illness. The years had not been kind to him. When his wife died giving birth to their daughter, he promised her that he would raise their child with love, no matter how hard it became. And hard it did. The factory closed down a year later, and Farid's health began to crumble. He developed a persistent cough, which later turned into something more severe. Yet every morning, no matter how weak he felt, he forced himself up to prepare breakfast for his little girl, Sarah, who was the light of his fading world. Their home was small, one room, one flickering bulb, a table with uneven legs, and a few photographs on the wall. But to Sarah, it was home. Farid would often sit with her by the window at night, telling stories of stars and angels, of dreams and kindness. He never let her see his pain. When his chest burned from coughing, he would turn away and smile, pretending to look at something outside. When his hands trembled too much to hold a spoon, he would laugh it off, saying, "I'm just practicing magic, Sarah." Sarah was 7 when she began to notice that her father often coughed until tears welled in his eyes. She would run to get him water, pat his back gently, and whisper, "Don't worry, Papa, I'll grow up soon and buy you medicine." He would nod and smile, though deep down he knew that his illness was something that no child's love alone could heal. But still, he kept going, for her. Years passed. The illness worsened. Farid found small jobs repairing shoes, cleaning stalls, or carrying loads for shopkeepers, anything that could earn him a few hundred rupees to feed Sarah and keep her in school. Every night, he would sit by her bedside, listening to her breathe, feeling grateful that he had made it through another day to see her smile again in the morning. There were days when he couldn't stand straight, when his chest felt like it was being crushed. On those days, he would quietly stay home, hiding his pain. Sarah would go to school, and he would sit in the dark room, holding her picture from her first day of school, her bright smile giving him strength to live one more day. Then came the day that changed everything. Farid was walking home from the market with a small bag of rice when the coughing struck again, harder than before. He leaned against a wall, gasping for breath. His vision blurred. The world spun. And then, everything went black. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed, the smell of disinfectant heavy in the air. A nurse stood beside him, adjusting his foreline. "You collapsed," she said gently. "Your daughter found you and called for help." Farid turned his head and saw Sarah asleep in a chair beside him, her small hand clutching his shirt. She looked pale, her eyes swollen from crying. He wanted to reach out and touch her face, but he didn't have the strength. The doctor came in a while later and spoke quietly but firmly. "Mr. Farid, your condition is serious. You have advanced lung disease. Without proper treatment and rest, it will get worse." Farid smiled weakly. "I don't have money for proper treatment, doctor. Just help me get back home. My daughter needs me." The doctor sighed. "Sir, if you keep working like this, you might not make it." Farid looked out the window and said softly, "If I don't work, she won't make it." He signed himself out the next morning, against medical advice. He went back to his small apartment, back to his silent struggle, back to his routine of quiet sacrifice. One evening, Sarah came home from school with tears in her eyes. "Papa," she said softly, "everyone in class paid for the school trip, but I didn't. I said I was sick so I wouldn't have to go. I didn't want to ask you for money." Farid's heart broke. He held her close, whispering, "My brave girl, one day you'll go on all the trips you want. I promise." That night, while she slept, he went out in the cold and took a job unloading trucks at the nearby depot, just to earn enough for her to join the next trip. His cough echoed in the night, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. Weeks later, his body began to give up. His coughs turned bloody, and walking even a few steps left him breathless. Yet he still smiled for Sarah. He hid his medicine bottles behind the cupboard, pretending they were vitamins. He didn't want her to see how sick he was. Sarah, now 12, had grown wiser. She noticed everything, the way her father's hands shook, the way he gasped for breath, the way he smiled even when pain filled his eyes. She began to help, washing clothes, cleaning dishes, and even tutoring younger kids for small coins. "We're a team, Papa," she would say. "You and me." One night, while Farid was asleep, Sarah wrote a letter. Her handwriting was uneven, but her heart poured through every word. She wrote to a man she had seen once on TV, Mr. Khalid Rahman, a billionaire philanthropist known for helping the poor. She didn't know how to reach him, so she mailed the letter to his company's address, writing simply, "Dear Sir, my father is the best man in the world. He works very hard even though he's sick. I just want to help him get better. He doesn't know I'm writing this. Please, if you can, come see him. He never asks for help, but he needs it. From Sarah Farid." Weeks passed. No reply came. Life went on, or rather, it struggled on. Until one morning, a black car stopped outside their building. Two men in suits stepped out, followed by another, tall, in his early 60s, with silver hair and tired eyes. It was Mr. Khalid Rahman himself. He looked out of place in the narrow street, his polished shoes splashed with mud as he walked up the old staircase to Farid's apartment. Farid was sitting by the window, coughing into a handkerchief, when the door knocked. He opened it and froze. The man before him looked vaguely familiar, but Farid couldn't place him. "I received a letter," Khalid said softly. "From your daughter." Farid's heart sank. "Sarah? What did she?" "She wrote about you," Khalid interrupted gently. "She said you're sick, that you raised her alone after losing your wife." His voice trembled slightly. "She said you're the kindest man she knows." Farid stood silent, unsure what to say. Tears filled his tired eyes. Khalid looked around the room, the peeling paint, the small bed, the old photographs. Something in him broke. He walked to the table, picked up a framed picture, and his breath caught. "Your wife," he whispered. "Maria?" Farid's eyes widened. "You knew her?" Khalid nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "She was my first love. Before I left for London, before I lost touch. I didn't know she was gone." His voice cracked. "And this is her daughter?" For a long moment, neither man spoke. Then Khalid turned toward Sarah, who had just come in from school, her bag slung over her shoulder. She froze, staring at the stranger. Khalid knelt down and said softly, "Your mother was someone very special to me. And now I see her smile again, in you." From that day, Khalid's visits became frequent. He arranged for Farid's medical treatment, moved them into a better apartment, and supported Sarah's education. Farid protested at first, saying he couldn't accept charity. But Khalid simply said, "It's not charity. It's family." Over the months, Farid's health stabilized. He could walk again, breathe easier, and even smile without pain. Sarah flourished at school, full of dreams and laughter. Their lives slowly filled with light again. But life, as always, is fragile. One winter morning, Farid sat by the window, his favorite place, holding a letter in his hand. It was Sarah's university acceptance letter. She had received a full scholarship to study medicine. His eyes filled with tears of pride. He placed the letter beside Maria's photo and whispered, "I kept my promise, love. She'll have the life we dreamed of." That night, as the city slept, Farid's heart quietly stopped. He passed away with a faint smile, his hand resting on the photograph of his wife and daughter. When Khalid and Sarah found him the next morning, the room was filled with peace. There was no struggle, no pain, only calm. Khalid fell to his knees beside the bed, tears streaming down his face. "I should have been there sooner," he whispered. "You carried the weight of the world alone, my friend." Sarah held her father's cold hand and said through her tears, "He was never alone, sir. Love was always with him." In the days that followed, Khalid fulfilled a silent promise. He arranged for Farid's burial beside Maria, under a tree that bloomed white in the spring. He built a small foundation in Farid's name, the Farid Trust, to help single parents struggling in silence, just as Farid once had. Years later, Sarah stood at the opening ceremony, now a young doctor, her eyes shining with the same quiet strength her father once carried. She spoke softly to the crowd, "My father taught me that even in sickness, even in silence, love can heal more than medicine ever could." This foundation is for all the fathers and mothers who give everything without ever asking for anything in return. The audience rose in applause, and Khalid, now an old man, wiped a tear from his eye. The story of a poor, sick father who raised his daughter in silence had become a beacon of hope for countless others. And somewhere beyond the clouds, perhaps Farid smiled again, proud, peaceful, and no longer alone.